Ever wonder how there are many Nurse Joys in the Pokemon games? We've all been told is that because they have a lot of sisters. But really, is it possible to have that many genetic identical siblings? Well, you never know, but still, they didn't want to let anyone know for the real reason. It's far too unreal and out of character. If anyone knew her secret, but I found out, I saw, and I could tell you. It all starts when you walk in the Pokemon Center. You walk up to her with her bright pink hair. You greeted her as she had this pretty voice that wasn't actually pretty to start with. You may or may not have a talk. She takes your Pokemon, turns around and heals them, and then gives them back. That's the usual routine. Most likely they've been nice and caring throughout the whole process. Give or take personality is just because she's supposedly each one unique personality. What you didn't know is that she installed a tracking device in your Pokeballs. All 6 of them in case if one falls off. Why? So then you entered the building, she knew you to be perfect. She knew that you had the characteristics for the job. Plus, you were still a new trainer. The less known, the better. Anyway, she keeps you tracked and alerts of other Nurse Joys that you might encounter. That way you'd get one of them. Well, let's just say they can care for you. However, if one of the Nurse Joys sees a trainer and stays in the Pokemon Center to sleep overnight, that's when their real fun begins. You're assigned in a room, most likely a room near the back of the Pokemon Center. I could take your Pokemon to another room so then they can be healed and rested. Instead, she may ask. Just say no. Just say no. It's their way to isolate you. All of your belongings can go to this drawer so you can lock it and keep your items safe while you sleep, she says, in her voice that you know is not soon to love. The Joys that do this to you are armed, but of course you trust these kind of nurses, and so in turn, that you had to go to the drawer, and she gives you the lock. Good night, please enjoy your rest. She tries to comfort you, but if you look closely, you may notice a fake face that she has almost always are full of excitement if ever a procedure happens. Can you guys guess what the real reason is? Well, if yes, then done. If not, keep reading. About at midnight, usually that's when it's all dark and living things is up and about. Except for our lovely, sadistic nurse, it all begins. The door to your room gently opens. There is no squeak or creaking noise. That's because of how she was smart enough to oil the doors. No sound is made when it opened. She then comes into the gurney room, those medical stretch things that you use to carry injured people. Her face is not sweet anymore, but devilish. She enjoys her ritual and she loves it. The rush, the adrenaline she gets, the red glow in the eyes, if she's possessed by the demon himself, although you're sound asleep. She doesn't take any chances and takes out a needle. No, it's not poison, silly. It's liquid form of sleep powder in a very high dose. It announced that it could keep you asleep for at least, say 2 hours. The 10 needle has 10 ounces. She needs all the time she can get for the procedure to be successful. So you're knocked out of the gunnery and you are pushed down to the hall of the room where you have been disguised as the nurse's only room. If you ever somehow manage to see what's inside, here's what you would see. Limbs and appendages of different sizes and jars, the only ones that didn't transform properly. There is also, certain parts. She cuts them off, drags the male bodies underneath it, and finishes it off. She doesn't really mind it. Actually, she collects it through the drain in jars in it, for when she needs it. After all, the Joys need a consistent supply of blood. Now here's the next part is her favorite. Joy takes a knife and slices it down from the base of you to the end. And then she does it very gently because she enjoys it. And if you were able to wake up, you could suffer slowly. At this point, Joy's hair is not neat. It's covered with blood, and her face has been completely changed. Her pupils are completely blood red, and her teeth have suddenly grown a bit, causing them to look like fangs. No, she isn't a vampire. Well, she could be, but that's not the point. Joy then has a smile and a mix of a clown and a demon because she takes out a bottle and has a special DNA molecules in it. Joy DNA molecules to be exact. But before she does anything with it, Joy takes out all of your parts except your couple, like at least your heart and brain. She stitches and opens incisions, but it's not a decent job. It won't matter. The serum needs to be directly poured onto the brain in order for it to work. So naturally, the Joy who takes out a saw and a regular old saw and slice you, just for the whole thing to happen. The serum is poured after a few minutes, and your body becomes more joy-like. The heart and brain is revived with its new organs. Joy lays into the grow in the empty cavity and does in your body. All of the cuts are healed as if you had perfect skin. The process is complete, and you wake up the next day to wanting to work at a Pokemon Center. Anywhere you can go, you would also have the DNA molecule forcing you to look out for minor trainers that would be the next Joy. Of course, when this comes, the ability need to do so has done to you. The thing is, you think you were born identical to other Nurse Joys, but why go through the trouble making people turn into Joys? Why is this not the clone? Well, I've just found out the original Joy would someday to rule the army of Joys that will do anything because it's in their DNA to grow the original. But cloning would attract too much attention. Plus, the whole I have a lot of sisters and that's identical seems to have a good story. Now, there you have it, Wonder how I know this? Well, let's just say with Nurse Joy's on who's the one in the background helping her. It's me, Chansey. Though I was told never to speak this information, even though I'm a Pokemon. So many advices come to you to the Pokemon Center at your own risk. You never know. The thing that is real about Nurse Joy is that she likes to hunt hers around herself. When you're alone sleeping or just relaxing, don't think you will be safe. I hear she's a nice demonic face stare at you with. Oh, and she just looks like she chose another victim. I think it's you. And that, my little pretties, was Pokepasta Nurse Joy. A Pokepasta. My final thoughts on this story? Well, I'm gonna be completely honest that this is actually one of the very first, creepypasta of Pokemon that I, decided to read before I became a creepypasta narrator. And that was sometime back, I guess, when Shadow Reader narrated this on his old channel. And that was way before his old channel was terminated. But I could definitely say that this story was definitely something. I'm not gonna lie, this story actually was pretty freaked out. I'm gonna be honest that when I saw, this pasta, I honestly was, surprised of how very shocked that this could actually be. It could be possible that, Nurse Joys are the same person and they said, oh, we're identical. Now, this theory is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy in my opinion to see that. I'm not saying that it is crazy or that it's a real pasta. It's a creepypasta, so of course it's not meant to take seriously. But I could definitely say this story was definitely something. I was very surprised when I, first saw that story. And, to be honest, this story was, oh goodness, it was definitely something. I wasn't expecting the story to go, this messed up. But I'm definitely have to say that this story actually provided pretty good detail. And, I do like how, the grammar went out, the sentence structuring, the storyline. Basically, everything about how this was. I was honestly very surprised on how, this story went out. Now, I really do like the fact that, this has a good, good grammar in the story, along with the sentence structuring, the storyline. Basically, everything about it was just flat out amazing. Now, I actually heard a couple narrations. Oh, sorry about that. I was a little tired, but I actually heard a couple narrations of this story, in this. So I'm definitely being honest that I remember, I remember listening to narrations of this story, and it's actually a pretty good pasta. It got deleted from, I guess you could definitely say, it's a pretty nice Fury, to be honest. I remember watching this on YouTube a bunch of times from like other narrators, and this is actually a pretty good story. Like, I really do like how this went out, as it's a pretty freaky, concept. Now, could be possible why all the Nurse Joys are the same. So this is actually a pretty good theory as to why that's happened. So it's definitely very well something. So yeah, it's actually a pretty, good concept of this story. So it's actually a very good reason as to why this story went out the way it is. Now, anyways, I'm going to sit here and say this, and I'm going to sit here and say this now, that this story, I'm not sure who the original author of this story is, so yeah, I'm just going to leave it as anonymous for now. If I do find out who the original author of this story is, I'll be sure to give him or her proper credit, especially in the description. Now, anyways, the grammar of this story was pretty good, although I could definitely say that I believe there were a few run-on sentences in the story, so the story was a little kind of hard to read. And there was, like, places that had periods that should have been, commas. Like, there were times where the periods were placed instead of commas, which, I definitely would have to say, that could be fixed up, because there was places, well, like, I mean, the sentence structuring is good, mostly, but there were parts of the story that had, periods that they shouldn't be, and they should have been, commas or something. So the story was a little bit hard to read at times. Like, the story was a bit hard to read. But other than that, the story actually provided pretty good detail. Now, I did have to look at and find an archive, site of the story, because it's not on the regular Creepypasta wiki, which kind of sucks. I don't know why it got deleted off the Creepypasta wiki, because it's just a really good story. Like, this was definitely something that, it's just a really, really good concept for what this is, but at the same time, though, it just didn't really, I don't really know what to say at this point, because it's just a really mess up, concept, like, of how this went out. It's still a pretty good story. Definitely would have to say it's still a pretty good story. I really do find this one to be enjoyable. Even though it's a short pasta, I still find this one to be quite enjoyable. And if you're wondering, who narrated this, I would have to say who narrated this story as well. I remember Mr. Creepypasta did. Creepy Rasta, I believe, also narrated this one. So many other individuals who did Pokepastas have also done this story, and this story was definitely something. It's a good story, it's not a terrible one, but although the sentence structuring, the places that periods were where they shouldn't be and they should have been commas, it does need a little bit of work. Like, not major work to make the story completely different or anything, but just a little bit of minor work that could really, fix things. But other than that, actually, this was a pretty good story, I'm not gonna lie. Although, I definitely would have to say that this story actually had a pretty good detail. Really, really do find this one to be enjoyable. I like the concept. It's a pretty awesome story. So, yeah, there is definitely that. So, I guess with that being the case, and with that being said, I'm going to sit there and just kind of wrap up the review, because there's, not really much to say, but like I'm always going to say, and like I always continue to say, this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to an opinion in regards to these creepypastas, and this is just simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of the story would have to be I'm going to give this one a 9.5 out of 10. It's a good creepypasta. It was very enjoyable. It was amazing. I really do like how this went out. And another thing, too, that I really do like is that how the concept of it went out. It's a pretty good, whole concept. And I actually find this one to be freaky, too. Like, there's no doubt that, Nurse Joy would probably do something like this. But although it's not really said anything much about it, because, Pokemon is usually for, everybody. So, I guess with that being the case, and with that being said, what did you guys What did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what would you have done first to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know your thoughts down in the comments section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I, make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell when I upload so then you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.